Hello to the chicas, hello to the chicas. Big energy here because big tournament is on, and that is none other than the World Cup. And after a fairly long hesitation, I decided to cover the tournament. I hope to make a video every day. Obviously, I'm very late to the party, partly because of I can only make videos on the following day. And also I have to liaise with my thumb designer, but I will try to find some way to you guys present the material to you. And so today we are going to look at a few snippets from the first round, kicking off with Salem Saleh against his, I believe, Vietnamese, based on the name, opponent Tren Dan Tu. And this is a game I'm not going to go through all the way because I want to show you a lot, and so time is of the essence. It was an absolutely wild Sicilian. I mean, hello, Salem Saleh playing, so absolutely wild is an absolutely unnecessary adjective there. And this is where we are at the pointy end of the game. Bishop takes a4 played, c2 is threatened, so we have got the classic opposite side castle kings scenario, and as you can see, both of the players are at each other's throats in earnest, and it's very difficult to see who is going to land the first meaningful blow. And at this position, or at this point I should rather say, Saleh decides to take on g6, which the engine immediately labels as a blunder. Having said that, obviously h6, bishop f1, rook f7 also looked like a fairly daunting option, but the engine very cold-bloodedly just goes like, yeah, Navarre is no problemo, man, it's all good, and even goes back with the bishop to c6. Absolutely banana city. No human would ever play like that. But what's wrong with this? Well, the Vietnamese IM goes correctly first by playing h5. Excellent move, trying to crack the h-file open. Takes, still correct. And after rook c3, very creative and annoying strike, this is where white needed to be very, very precise. The attack is by no means obvious. I would like to stress this because your natural instinct is to bring the rooks to the h-file, but the problem with this is that as long as you don't cover f7 with white, this check is potentially chasing the king to a safer spot than where it currently is. So for example, bishop c2, queen e3, now a queen trade is on the cards and the check is harmless. I just ran. No problemos. Yes, there is an exchange to be won here, but I really don't think that white has any realistic hopes of winning this whatsoever. So the cunning attacking idea for white here is the absolutely crazy bishop h3. The point of the move is the equally shocking bishop f5. So against a pass move, I have bishop f5, which cannot be captured because of checkmate. Hello? No one saw that one coming. And if after bishop f5 I play a defensive move, then a different checkmate is going to hit me on the nose with queen g5. Two insanely cool checkmates, both cases delivered by the queen on different diagonals and different color complexes. Marvelous harmony between those two variations. So bishop h3 was already a very tall task to find. Queen b7 looks like best move. The idea behind this move is that black wants to reroute the queen to shield off the f-file. Let me show you how. Queen f4, and here queen e7, of course, is the correct move. That is the justification of queen b7. The idea being that if I now move the rook to the h-file, introducing the threat of bishop takes e6 check, queen takes e6, and then checkmate down on h8, black calmly takes the pawn with a chook, and after king a1 comes the equally calm and measured queen f6, shielding the f-file so that the king can always escape via f7, and white has no advantage to speak of. Instead of this, hold on to something, after queen e7, white now needs to go with the cheeky queen h2, reshuffling the roles between the heavies, keeping the queen behind the bishop on the h-file to renew the threat on h8, and hoping to bring the other rook to f1 to take care of the f file. Absolutely genius stuff. My favorite threat, of course, is check. And after king takes, this Matutski is really, really very cool in a couple of moves. I suppose if I play something like queen f6, then rook f1 reveals the point of the operation. Very nice chess. And note here that rook f1 is truly killing black, because I cannot interpose on f3 with the rook, since that rook is pinned by the b2 bishop to the queen. Wowzers. So this could have been an absolutely marvelous finish. But it wasn't to happen, because the Vietnamese IM instead played here queen g5. And now it was Salem's turn to turn on the tactics. Let me swap the board around. You will appreciate it. Plays queen e3. And after the IM rejects the queen trade, now it is the grandmaster from the UAE who decides to strike. Bishop takes c2, a sensational tactic after which black takes the lead. The most beautiful variation by far would have been rook takes. The game continuation saw king a1. And then Saleh went on to win with this beautiful checkmate. I forgot to show you this. Rook e3, rook check, bishop takes, rook check, king here, and rook b1. Hello? That is pretty epic. The check doesn't really impact the outcome of that mate pattern. Bishop takes c3 was played. The mate is still on. Fantastic stuff. And by the way, note that black here also threatens, by the way, among other things, with pulling the queen back to d4 and creating a checkmate threat on the long diagonal. So queen h5 check. Everything lost here, really. But the engine is being very harsh, because this now allows a forced mate. King e7, queen h4, and the king has now walked to safety, allowing a beautiful coup de grace with rook c1 check, rook takes c1, and queen d4 Matutski on the long diagonal. One of my favorite contemporary attacking players, Salem Saleh, delivered again in spades. But let me show you what I thought was the coolest line potentially in the game, which would have occurred after rook c2. That goes like this: rook c2, king c2, check. Now the king can't really go back. Quite funnily, even though it looks like black is only attacking with one piece, the rook's ability to come and enter the fray with a check means that in reality it's two. So if king b1, it's a forced mate, check, king here, check, and the queen takes care of business by itself. Alternatively, if the king goes to c1, then the rook joins the party with a check, and very soon it is going to be checkmate against the white king. So what that white king needs to do is to go for a little bit of an excursion via b3, and now we are going to witness an absolutely marvelous king hunt. Spoiler alert, this king is going to get mated on this square. Check this out. Check. Check. Very important discovered check from f8. King a5. Queen check. Now the rook is going to be able to join the party. If king a5, then rook a8. So king b6. And now we have got queen b2. I think I went the other way in my line. Yeah, I went king a5, rook check. Same difference. Check. 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 No, king e8, please. That's a longer one. King d8 is made immediately with rook a8. So we go king e8, check. Queen d8, and mate. It's only round one, and we are treated to beauties like this. Ay, 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 ay. And if you think that that was cool, check this out. Actually, I would leave this one to last. In style of Morphy, Erdogmus delivered a sensational mate. Actually, no, let's go for it. This is worth looking at it from the whole game. So Erdogmus plays the French, and the opponent plays the super ambitious, not exchange French. And Erdogmus immediately goes on about business, beautifully developing piece after piece after piece. Castles. And knight g6. Now black's position is already ever so slightly preferable. f5 is going to come shutting down the bishop-knight combo, or bishop-queen combo rather. But h4 was very, very, very ambitious and bold and bad. And with rook e8, Erdogmus sets up a devilish trap. And the opponent headfirst walks into it, weakening all the light squares around the white king, allowing the marvelous knight e5 tactic, forking queen and bishop. Takes, and now the queen is stumbling from one terrible spot to the next. If queen e3, we have got the fabulous bishop c5, a marvelous deflection, forcing the queen to take and then regaining everything with absolute interest. Fantastic stuff. Very, very good. And if the queen instead takes d5, then in style of Morphy, we keep on developing with Tempi. Now the queen is on again. Queen e4, the queen has to cover the bishop. f5. Now the queen has to go back to e3, and this is the time to expose the discovery by playing bishop d5, a dual threat. Bishop takes h1 threatened, knight f3 check, picking off the queen threatened. The game is over. Thankfully, however, white didn't quite resign. Instead, they played king f1, allowing a fabulous finish. Bishop h1, bishop f5, and bishop c5, hinting ever so gently a checkmate on d1, which our opponent conveniently fell for. A beautiful finish by Erdogmus, once again in the style of the romantics of the 1800s. And this is very important. I can't emphasize this enough, that that is your most important first few chess lessons, to understand the importance of development, king safety, and exploiting your opponent's poor play in the opening by forceful play. That was done by Erdogmus here to the highest level. Next. Empty board, no thank you. My fellow Hungarian Gledura delivered a little cutie. Let's have a look at how that went. Rosolimo Sicilian. And after a few moves in the opening, take is still correct. After rook e1, f6 was still fine. Takes is still fine. But after queen e2 here, black started to drift. First they played rook e8, it is still okay. But after bishop g5, it is absolutely imperative to start playing some kind of pawn pushes in the center. Preferably d6 followed by e5 would be logical. But at least d6 would deny knight e5, take a few squares away from the white pieces, potentially put bishop g4 on the map. It just feels ultimately safe. Instead, queen c7 was played. This looks really shaky. Abandoning the rook, and Gledura immediately struck with bishop takes f6, bishop f6, and knight e4. And here, black still had a chance to steady the ship by, instead of grabbing a pawn, sacking one, going back to g7, allowing knight c5, and after pawn e5, yes, black is a pawn down. It's not exactly what the doctor would prescribe, but the position is still decently playable. Instead, however, bishop b2 was played, and that was a terrible mistake, as now c3 double exclam comes, hitting the bishop and shutting it out from the defense. Beautiful arrows there, Mr. Toth. Bishop takes, and knight f6 check, and over. Out of nowhere, black is knocked out cold. Let's have a look at what happens if they take the knight. It's check, it is check, and it is check, and it is check, or not check, but checkmate. And if h6, then queen h4 mate. So long story short, of course, the knight couldn't be captured. King f7 was forced. And although I did not try to make knight e8 work, but after queen d8, black is still in the game. Gledura instead went with a beautiful combo here, playing the sensational knight e5 check, luring the king out. The second king hunt that we are looking at today. And after king f6, of course, there would be multiple checkmates. Queen f3 check is the introduction. King e6 allows the super sexy knight mate here. Note that this would work without the rook, by the way. Fabulous checkmate pattern. Whereas king g7 allows check, check, and here the very cheeky rook e4 leads to mate. Like so. Watch. Check, 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 and mate. Delish. If instead we go king g5, then knight f7, king here, and queen h3 is also a big fat boomski. Boomski. In the game, black decided that there was no way out of this misery, and they took the queen. Oh, the final, most beautiful idea, I'm sorry, I forgot to show you this, is of course that if the king goes back to f8, then we just casually slide the queen onto the f file, reintroducing the same threat. And now after ef, we have got a checkmate very, very quickly. Check, check, here, check, takes, and checkmate. Beautiful win by the Hungarian. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to get on to... the final position, which it seems that I forgot to copy. And I really, really want to show you that game. So I will. Bear with me. We are going to take a quick detour. Yeah. This is a bit iffy, but work with me. You are going to be grateful for waiting. There were a fair few defaults. Chaperinov had a beautiful checkmate, but the game itself was not quite as exciting, and it was just a nice mate in the end, so I decided to omit that. It's going to be somewhere very near at the bottom. Karthik with the black pieces is who we are looking for. Yeah, I'm just about to be there. Andy Woodward's game was absolutely bananas. Very, very complex, super exciting battle. I would highly recommend you to check that out. How did Arthur's go? Okay, he drew. I didn't check that. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, let me get the game very, very quickly. Apologies for the slight interruption. I don't know what I did or why this happened to us, but here we go. The best part of this game is that what I want to show you about this was what was behind the scenes. It never actually happened. So, Garcia, Pantoja, Roberto, Peruvian maybe, South American for sure, played here this g3 move, which is lesser known to theory. Rook a c1, rook c3, and then trying to utilize the rook on the third is a theme that I have seen in a game by Nepo. If I'm not mistaken, it was a Nepomniachtchi Bakro game that followed a pattern similar to this. So white usually puts the rook on d3 to dodge the trade. Also to dodge knight b4. Then moves the knight to g5. The rook goes on the third. Attack is happening. But Garcia plays g3, puts the king on g2, and of course the idea is to play h4, rook h1, and start again knight g5 ideas. So watch what he does. Very, very exciting chess. a4, queen d3, h6, and now, oh yeah. One more time. Let's play knight g5 again. Queen d3, knight g5, boomski. And here h takes would have been very, very hairy. It wasn't played. I will show you how the game went. Game went g6, knight back, h5, knight f4, king g7, g4. Love, by the way, the relentless attack by white, who gets rewarded by a draw, but no more with this perpetual check. But nonetheless, he did give it a red hot go, and you can see his time, by the way. So he's down to 14 minutes when he commits to the draw. So he definitely was calculating a lot of options here, trying to somehow make the attack work. The attack that began with knight g5. Now, what would have happened here if black had captured the knight? Takes, g6, and it seems that black is holding the fort easy. King g7, rook h8, see ya, wouldn't want to be ya, there is no mate, get out. You would think. Nah. After rook h1, king g7, white is on the verge of winning because of the super cheeky queen f3. And to make our video today very educational, I'm going to allow you to work out white's winning idea here, with white to move and delivering a deadly blow. Off you go. Shout out, by the way, to Grandmaster Jakob Ogord, who posted this on Twitter, and that's how this came to my attention, because I solved it and I went like, oh yes. So pause the video if you don't want to see the finish. This is how the game could have concluded. A super sexy queen sec. If you don't play, if you don't sack your queen, do you even play the game? And now after bishop takes, pawn takes, king has to go back to g8. There comes check, there comes check. And after bishop h6, nothing to be done against bishop g7, followed by Matutsky on h8. Done. Knockout. Now, black has a fabulous way to stay in the game, though, which is this knight takes e5 sacrifice idea. The point is that now if we repeat the rinse repeat business, then after takes, king g8. Can you work out the difference? Pause the video. A defensive puzzle. This is how it goes from black's perspective. Take, check, here, and d4. And after bishop g7, we have queen c6 check. This is the party pooper. Now, if the king goes back to g1, I can just take the rook. Whereas after f3, I come in with a check. And now the king either has to interpose with the h-file or allow black to check the rook down, and simplifying into a winning end game. And so, after knight takes e5 and rook h8, white still would be ever so slightly ahead after rook h6, but according to the engine, the position is holdable. So, ladies and gentlemen, super exciting chess already right from get-go, and this was only game 1 of round 1 in the Chess World Cup from India, Goa. I'm super excited to bring you more fun positions, fun games, and instructive content. Stay tuned. I will be back with the next soon. Thanks for watching.